All right.
Dude, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for taking the time.
Of course, man.
It's
Anything for my friends.
You say that, but you haven't been here in a few years, and I was starting to think it's because you hate us.
You know how the drill goes. I fucking play guitar in the band. I don't decide. I'm not the booking agent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trying to get here, but they just won't let you come back.
Well, even trying to get a gig in New Zealand, like going to Australia and playing a few shows. I'm like, let's go to fucking Auckland and play a show.
Yeah, it's not that
Like
far
they're like,
away.
you're gonna lose 30 grand doing that. I'm like, really? How can that be?
What's
So it's
what's the situation like for you now, like touring back home? Has the price increased dramatically for you guys just touring like locally, or is it more just those big international ones that have become a lot harder to tour?
well, I think honestly, it's like it's a few different moving parts because after COVID, everyone, no one toured. Well, during COVID, no one toured, and a lot of places shut, and a lot of people changed careers. Like, techs that worked for bands, like, went into the real estate business or got regular jobs. And everyone's scrambling for money, and
Yeah, sure.
it was a fucking disaster. So, the trickle down effect of uh, supply and demand, getting stuff places. For instance, petrol, gas. It's like it trickles down when the price of gas, people can't get gas, there's lines, it all trickles down to, it's all economics. Everything relies on transportation. So, especially our band. And we had to turn down a couple tours in Europe just because we were going to basically break even.
Yeah.
And there's a few different reasons for that because, on one hand, we have the biggest production we've ever had, like, in our careers, which is great. But like having that in trying to pull that off in Europe is much harder.
Yeah.
First of all, gas is way more expensive. The lorries, the trucks they're smaller, so we'd have to get a few more
Yeah.
trucks than double the amount of trucks we have over here. And the drivers are hard to find. Brexit happening, where
Yeah.
we all usually we rent from the UK, and the drivers, like, we could I don't know there were a lot of times we could find the vehicles, but we didn't have drivers, or vice versa. Lots of drivers, no vehicles, because everybody's back on tour, trying to make up that lost money during COVID, and it's still happening. Um, Even though the last U.S. tour we did with Lamb of God was a huge success, it was great, best ever. But we can't, like, have uh, the huge production that we have in the States go over to Europe and not do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like, if you go over there with a backdrop, you can make some money. But if you bring lasers, video wall, all your crew and techs, the fire and all this, with
Yeah.
pyro, that's like you can't do that. And the crowds are going to be like, "Oh, what the fuck? Why don't you have that here?" And they're not going to comprehend what I just told you. So
Do
it's
you think
like,
I don't know if I agree with that entirely. I feel like people are becoming a little bit more savvy and understanding purely because of COVID. I feel like maybe it's an Australian thing. It might not be the same in Europe, but people seem to just be appreciating the effort it takes to get out and put tours on. The responses from shows here in the last 2 or 3 years post COVID have been phenomenal. It's you're seeing this new wave of energy and excitement towards live music. And yeah, you're right. Bands are probably putting on a bigger show, but even when they're not, people are just stoked to have the effort made. But I understand from a cost standpoint for you guys, it's still it's hard to justify when you're like, we're only just breaking even to do this.
yeah, there's no, we can't, I can't go to Europe for a month and not make any money. It's like,
Yeah,
what's the point? Just to play shows, and everyone else gets paid. The band is the last
yeah,
person to get.
yeah. The
Uh,
ones working in front of everyone get no reward for that. Yeah, doesn't make
yeah,
sense. So, is there any like safety blanket in doing a festival? Like Good Things, is that a great opportunity because you go look, we're part of their bigger package, but it allows us to come and do these shows because it's already kind of like the stage is set up, everything's already there for us and made a little bit easier.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to just come over and do 4 club shows. You know, what I mean, it's like not it's not gonna work. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
That's
We
the
have a
beauty of this is being able to add in like you guys are doing your own side shows, so you get to play these pretty amazing venues because I've seen the shows that are being announced. They're great venues, but you also have, like you said, the safety blanket. We're also doing these at the big festival run shows to allow us to get there, which is cool.
yeah, like I think it was 2 years ago in August we went to Japan, and we barely get to Japan either, just because the economy and the cost, and Japan's the cities are kind of spread out, and it's difficult to like maneuver sometimes logistically.
Sure.
Um, Even though they're the best crowds and the best. Every time we go over there, they're so precise when if you borrow amps or rent amps there, hire equipment and stuff. They're like they're amazing. They're just like
The
not
nicest people in
unlike,
the world.
yeah, but they pay attention to detail and they're just amazing. So we went over there, and a lot of the fans, I mingled in the crowd a little bit and played just one festival over there. I was like, why can't we play like 3 or 4 shows while we're here? Like, just can't. Talking to people, they were like, Japan just started letting people, congregate in groups now. This is 2.5 years ago, or whatever. But things are bouncing back. But there was definitely irreparable damage done to the whole industry.
Yes, agreed. It's almost starting fresh in some points.
People are just they're trying they're finding different ways to make money. You know what I mean? Like hustling. I've always been a hustler. Even before Mastodon, it was like, how do I don't have college education, never took guitar lessons. I'm just a fucking dude from the streets, and it's like, how do we make money? Sell stuff, sign stuff, play a guitar on stage, sell it. Like those are things musicians are doing now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that are out in the audience. They go to the merch stand and they're like, wow, their fucking t-shirts $60. Like they're just raking us over the coals. It's like, let me explain the details. Venue, they take 20 to 30% sometimes, most of the time, of your merch money, when they have nothing to do with your merch money. They shouldn't. If you play with a bigger band like Slayer, Metallica, Iron Maiden, you have to price match with their shirts. So there's a lot of things that are hidden from the general public.
It is an interesting thing. We're not experiencing that as much here in the venues taking the cut of the merch fees, but we do hear that from friends that tour, particularly in the States a lot, that's become a bigger thing. Do you see that being something that goes away with enough pushback from the bands and from the industry, or do you think that's just kind of standard now?
I mean, it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
We've been fighting it for years. We always, in the contracts, we'd cross that part out. But it's
Nope.
like, no, we're not going to do that. Why should we do that? Why should
Yeah.
we hire our own, we have a merch company. We have a merch person that comes on the road with us. They're an extra body. They fly where we fly. We pay their ticket. They stay in hotels. They're an extra body. They get a per diem.
Yeah.
They go to the venue that day, and the venue says, no, we sell. We have our own people that we take in, and we're like, hey, we have our own credit card machine. They're like, nope, you're going to use ours, and we're going to charge you to use it. So it's like, you're just getting fucked everywhere.
Yeah, that's a hard thing. Yeah. How involved in the merch and the design side of things are you guys as band members? Is that something that you are interested in? Because you've always been a very visual band, not just sonic, but there's a huge visual element to that. Is that something that you guys are heavily involved in?
Oh yeah, of course. I always feel, I come from I'm 53 years old, and it's like, when I was a kid, there wasn't internet, there wasn't cell phones, there weren't even really pictures of the bands that I liked anywhere, you know what I mean? And it was like, to find a new cool band, you would go to the record store and you'd look through You thumb through the vinyl.
Yeah.
You look at the picture that's on the outside of the album. I mean, that's what I did. And I would look at stuff like, say, I don't know, Rain and Blood. You look at that cover and you're like, I know what's in here.
Yeah.
This is satanic, fucked up metal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You look at the Ramones records. You look at King Crimson. I mean, back when people used to really, when albums, were big, not just little thumbnails. So
Yeah.
we continue that tradition where I feel like the presentation of your art of the cover must represent the music that's inside.
It's funny you say that because that's honestly one of the things that drew me towards you guys to start with was like the cover of Leviathan. I was like, oh, that's like a Moby Dick type thing. And then getting in and being like, oh, it's actually like a concept album that's about that. That was very clear. And I was like, well, that's fucking cool. That's a great, like, you can't
Yeah,
judge a book by its cover, but also can get a pretty good idea of what's inside the book. That's a
it catches
great, yeah, yeah,
albums like the Black Album, Metallica, which is a great record to me. But after I don't, I grew up on Metallica, but that record, fucking awesome record, terrible cover. It's like it's just black. What the fuck?
yeah, yeah. I agreed. I think, I mean, I guess it's not for everyone. Maybe some bands don't put that same effort in. So, with that being said, now that you guys have access to the world at your fingertips, like we all have social media and like online merch stores are so prevalent. Is that something that you're dabbling into and exploring more, as you said, to kind of hustle and reach those fans a little bit more?
Absolutely, I've been doing it for like 10 years. When we were with Relapse Records, Remission, Leviathan, Blood Mountain, they they want to pay. They keep repressing those records, mostly Leviathan,
Yeah.
like a different colored vinyl, and they're just giving us the vinyl like 14% of every time they press it. So I'm like, what are we gonna fucking do with those vinyl? Well,
Yeah.
I guess we sell it. So we bring it on the road, sell it. Then I've got thousands of vinyl records, all different colors, same record. So I open up a store, sell records, sell posters, sign stuff from the band, and it's
Yeah.
kept us alive. It's really kept us alive. I mean, during COVID, all the customers that bought stuff like really kept the lights on at the Mastodon house. You know what I mean?
It's a cool thing as well because for fans, whilst you're right, it helps you guys pay the bills and keep things going. But for them, it is that like tangible connection to the band and that like something exclusive, like a limited edition vinyl that you've signed. That's a really meaningful, cool way to connect with you guys because hey, it might be their favorite album, but it's also had that like touch and feel experience from you guys. I think that's a really cool thing that it's
Like they
not just a
bought it
money grab.
they bought it directly from the band.
Yes, exactly. It's not coming from just like a distributor somewhere else. There is a touch, feel, connection element to you guys. I think that's a really cool thing. I'm
Well, we're
enjoying
just
seeing that happen more and more.
we're just I don't know. I'm just very grounded. You know what I mean? Like in the band, a lot of people are like, "You guys are a massive, huge band," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, I don't. I feel like we are what we are. Like when we started, I don't feel. I don't know. I don't always feel like how you can't see the forest through the trees. Supposedly, it's like
Sure.
that kind of analogy. But I know we do well, and I've been very happy doing what we do for the past 20, almost 25 years. I do lessons in person on tour, Zoom lessons, um, do all that stuff because it's rewarding, it's fulfilling. People love to do it, and I got a lot of time when I'm on the road. Like you show up and you're just sitting backstage. Like, what are you doing with your time? Like,
Yeah.
we'll use it wisely.
It's a cool thing though, like as you said, you can't step back and see your own success, but almost 25 years in, like 8 huge records under your belt, the name is synonymous with your own brand of heavy music. The fact that you're still able and willing to connect in that way and do those things that out of love, that's a really fucking cool thing that I don't hear too many bands in the state that you guys are in having that availability and that accessibility. Do you ever get any fears of like people aren't actually interested in learning? They just want to get closer or have like that connection point, or is that not really a concern?
You mean like when I do lessons or
Yeah,
meet and greets and stuff like
yeah,
that? I mean, no, it's sometimes people show up to the guitar lessons without a guitar and they just want to listen because I expose myself and I not expose myself, but I expose who I am
sure.
and I tell my story. That sounded really bad. That's not
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I'm
good.
butt naked and
And they're like, okay, if you're, can you handle this? This is the real me.
listen up.
Yes, sometimes people just want to talk. They want to talk gear. They want to pick your brain, just ask you stuff, and I'm totally cool with that. It's like this is your hour, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But usually
And
it's just like a guitar lesson.
yeah, true. It is interesting hearing. I was talking with a friend of mine who's a drummer in quite a big band, and he was saying that it started out for him of being like, I some bands would reach out just in order to have the connection point and just sit and kind of like talk about his band, and then over time he sort of realized who was serious and who wasn't. But he's like, I didn't mind that though, because like some people just, I mean, they're paying for it and they just want to talk music, and it's a cool thing to be able to share those stories sometimes with people who are genuinely interested. So
Yeah, and the honest truth is, the more lessons and talking to people and answering their questions and queries, I learn a lot more about myself.
yeah,
They're
that's
like,
true.
how did you come up with this certain part? Because I never took lessons or learned theory, but they're like, to go from this to that and over here and change the time signature is so bizarre. How do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Or like, when you play this part, how do you keep the open strings quiet and which way do you pick stuff and doing Zoom? It's introspective because I can look at myself and see myself playing. I'm like, I
Sure.
never even thought about that. It's just kind of playing guitar is like a second nature. It's like walking or.
Yeah.
So it's interesting and it's rewarding for me too.
That's a cool thing to almost, yeah, in hindsight, break down your own technique because you just write it how you sort of want to play it. But looking back, being like, oh, yeah, like that doesn't make sense, I guess, logistically to play that way. But that is a cool thing. And you guys do have such a unique ability to grab from so many different genres and different soundscapes to bring into that Mastodon sound. That would be something that I guess people would have a lot of questions about that because it's not like a traditional heavy music necessarily. You've got like jazz influences and some psychedelic stuff and some like heavy influences pulled in all together. On that, playing a lineup like Good Things, which is quite a diverse lineup, is that something that appeals to you more than say more like the metal leaning festivals, or you're not really bothered about the type of festival you guys play?
No, I'm much more impressed and excited about playing uh, multi-genre music festivals.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's because it's all different types of music. Because I mean, I listen to all kinds of music. I don't just listen to heavy fucking music. I mean, honestly, I don't listen to that much heavy music anymore. I know I'm wearing a Slayer shirt, but
Yeah.
it's laundry. No, when people are very surprised. Like, oh, what's your favorite obituary record or whatever? I'm like, I don't really listen to obituary. And they're like, what? And you don't love Pantera? I'm like, I don't, not really. I mean, they're cool, they're great, but um, when I was a kid, yeah, I listened to all that stuff. But now, as my palate has kind of matured, it's like I just like music, and I don't really like putting it into categories. I'm just like, you hear something and it's catchy, and it's like, yeah, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I,
If it connects, it
uh,
connects.
I just like playing guitar in front of a loud fucking amp, heavily distorted, is what turns me on. So it's like I enjoy playing heavy stuff, but I don't always necessarily listen to tons of heavy stuff. But
There's always
I am
something kind of cool being a heavier band when it's not an entirely heavy lineup too, because it almost amplifies the like the reaction from the crowd because you're that big, impressive, heavy moment for them a lot of the time. That could be a really cool experience. I feel like it's almost elevated the heaviness sometimes more than, say, playing a metal festival.
Yeah, of course. Because and also like while you're when you're touring, we toured with Against Me and fuck, what's the hell's the name of that band? Against Me is totally different.
Yeah.
Cursive, it's Cursive,
Oh
Against
yeah.
Me, Mastodon. So it's like, I mean, who wants to go see three bands that sound just like each other? Which I don't get that.
Yeah.
It's weird. I get like, well, we got to cater to the people to fill seats, and we're not going to put Bjork with Metallica, but I would love a
Oh,
concert like that.
I would pay to see that.
So yeah, that's the way festivals should be, and they're starting to get a little bit more like that in the States. I mean, in Europe, they've always done stuff like that, and I remember like some of the first times going over there, I was like, man, this is a really weird festival. It was like Paul McCartney, and then like us and the Eagles. It's like
Yeah.
Portishead. But that's cool because it just brings more people and opens people's minds and eyes and ears a little bit more. Like you don't have to be stuck in like I only like metal.
Yeah.
Like whoever said that, it's music. Just get into it.
Absolutely. Now, I have an important question here. Did you watch the Book of Boba Fett? Because I'm looking at your Boba Fett tattoo, and I want to know if you followed along with that series.
I did watch it.
What are your thoughts?
I was not impressed. I mean, how much time you got? First of all, when he climbed out of the Sarlacc pit, there was fucking stormtroopers in there
Yeah.
in the belly of the in the Dune Sea on Tatooine. There are stormtroopers inside there. Like, why were they? How did they get in there?
Yeah.
They were not in Return. It's supposed to happen right after Return of the Jedi. They weren't on Jabba's sail barge. They weren't there. They were not
Yeah.
there at all.
There's some
And
inconsistencies in the storytelling.
so when he when he gets out of it, his fucking armor is so fucking small because that dude is. I mean, he's a beast, but he's way too fat for the character. They should have made the armor bigger so it looked
Yeah,
the rash
proportionally it fit.
portion was like, dude, fits tiny. You don't look
Yeah.
anything like Boba. What are you talking about?
I thought it was so interesting the way they like I don't know if you've seen that. It's from Parks and Rec, that show where the guy's like talking about the opening scene and like he has this dream about Star Wars and what's happening. And then they put that exact scene, like him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit and getting out. That whole scene was like described 5 or 6 years prior in an episode of Parks and Rec.
Uh
Have you
huh.
seen that?
No.
It's worth looking up. It's like they did this as like an offhand thing. It was like a small episode of this show, and they talked about this, and then it is shot for shot the way they started the series. And I was like, oh, that's such a weird thing. I don't know why they use that as the reference point for something that has so much lore and people are so invested in the storyline of Star Wars to then kind of like I don't know, seem like a bit of a cheap
It
like
flopped because it's like Boba Fett is this fucking character who was an evil dude, and he was unknown. You didn't know who the fuck he was. He had the mask on always. You don't know anything about him. He's totally mysterious. And then now he becomes like this nice dude, and he's friends with the
yeah.
Sam. He's got a good heart. It's like no,
Just
no, don't do
leave him
that.
bad. Leave him bad.
Let him lie and make a story of him before. I don't know.
Yeah, like the prequel before he fell into the pit, before he was who he was. Agreed. I think that's
Like he
yeah.
was born again, and now he's like this nice guy. It's not who he's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page there. I appreciate nerding out a little bit. So thanks for indulging me there.
Sure.
Uh, and we're really excited to have you come back. Johnny, my partner who I do the channel with, is really bummed he couldn't be here. He's a huge fan. So we're both very excited to catch up with you guys at Good Things Festival and hopefully be able to make along to the side shows too, at least in Sydney. Uh,
Right.
looking forward to having you come back.
Well, we're looking forward to showing up.
Heck yeah. All right, we'll leave you there. Won't take too much more of your time, but Bill, appreciate it, man. And we'll see you very shortly.
All right, buddy. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks, man.